Happy Tuesday. Welcome to the HR Morning Show. Today we got the Bro Show. Switch it up the lineup for a bit. We got our weatherman into the hot seat. Serge, what's happening?
Good morning. Yeah, this is an honor, like replacing Danielle. I don't think I can replace her, but I'll do my best.
Joel, what's up, dude?
It's like when you have like a stepdad coming in for the real dad. You know, it's like not really a replacement.
No, he's just pinching. He's just pinching. Well, welcome everybody. Good morning to the morning show. We got a big show for everyone today. We're joined by Eaton's Kristin Oravec, Sarah Rodehorst, and a very special check-in from Mike Wood about his show. My first job to start your Tuesday every morning with the HR Morning Show.
And do us a favor, get in the chat. Say if you're out there, because this is a live show. Anything can happen. We've had tech difficulties. We've had crazy stuff going on. But
weather. Yeah, we're live. We're doing it. But we think we worked it all out. And we want to thank everyone for their patience. This is a live show. Anything could happen. We appreciate everyone joining us and definitely hanging out with us and the Purple Acorn crew. Remember, you can check out more at purpleacornnetwork.com. Follow us on LinkedIn, YouTube. We're a podcast. We're here every Tuesday. Get involved with the comments. So, Serge, let's because the audience may not know you. They only know you as a weatherman. Let's tell everyone who you are and what you do best, man. Besides being a weatherman.
I'm a great weatherman. So I've been in this industry 20 years, mostly leading talent acquisition teams, but been on the flip side working at Indeed, Workopolis, all the big players. I am at a company called C Squared Technology, which we own Resume Wallet. So it's always a pleasure being on this show. You know, being the weatherman, I get some pretty interesting topics. In this one, it's going to be a fun segment because I'm going to talk about political polarization.
Ooh, hot topic. A little spicy for a Tuesday morning. Spicy. Well, we have a lot to get to. We have a jam-packed episode. Yeah. We have lots of guests. We have a bunch of surprises for everybody. But guys, you know what time it is. It's time for headlines. Let's go. One that you love to hit that TikToker on. Companies still haven't figured out the right way to let people go. And we're talking about companies of all sizes, big, small, enterprise level. And I get it. If you're a giant company, it's hard. How do you let everyone know? Like you have like mass layoffs, shit happens. Part of my friend's stuff happens. And you got to let everyone know. But there has to be a better, more empathetic, humane way to do it. Joel, what's this article about here?
Yeah, look, I think they're saying that you know, we've got to put more effort into layoffs, essentially. We've seen some brutal layoffs recently. We've seen layoffs via text. We've seen layoffs via email. We've seen mass layoffs. To me, this all started with the better.com guy who laid everybody off by Zoom.
It should be worse.com. Right?
And then he just got so much whiplash around it. What I've heard from the company side is, you know, they want to make layoffs more efficient.
That's a terrible. That's not. I don't like when you use the word efficient with layoffs.
I know
those two don't go well together.
And so what we're looking at in this article is like, how do you actually do a layoff where there's more collaboration from, you know, PR teams, HR, legal teams, because there's so many things that can happen. I think things that companies need to be aware of right now. There is a trend on TikTok of people recording layoffs, and that trend is
not good PR.
And it's not slowing down either. Like I've seen 10 videos this week, and the reason it's not slowing down is because the algorithm feeds it and they go viral. Those videos go viral. People find it interesting. So you got that going on.
Not a good look.
And then
I think it makes the employees look worse. Like I've seen a lot of these videos and it doesn't really make the employer look
well,
bad.
It depends how it's framed. It depends how it's framed. Like, so that's a fair question. And we debated this when that first video came out with that lady, the young lady who got let go and she was pushing back on it. If you were an employer looking at her to potentially hire her, you're going to have an inclination to maybe not, because maybe she'll put you on blast if things go south. You don't know if it was performance related. You don't know the exact reason why she was let go. Some people, unfortunately, are terminated because of poor performance. I know, I've been there. And stuff happens. So I agree with you, Serge. I as a hiring manager, Joel, as a hiring manager, would you be biased against someone that posted a video like that to potentially not hire them?
Look, I think it's the equivalent of going into an interview and saying, "Hey, I had a toxic boss as my last boss, and like it went really, really bad."
Here's proof.
It's one of those general things where you kind of don't want to talk negatively about anybody or do anything that makes anyone look negatively, because other people are going to see that. So that's it. That's if you are like, if you care about your reputation in that way. What I will say though is, like, I have seen some of those videos. The people will get behind you. Like, the regular people will get behind you.
The people.
Not sure if the hiring managers will, because they're just going to envision themselves 9 months down the line,
being on
having to
blast.
let you go, and
Well, the other thing about this too is, let's talk tactically here. They put an animated duck into the termination email. For help, if you send a GIF, I mean, if you send the Jiffy or GIF these days, I don't know what the kids are calling it, but if you put something animated in there as a joke or like anything satire in a termination email, first of all, who wants to get let go via email?
Yeah.
And then you're trying to be funny about it, like snarky. I mean, I don't know. That's just poor all around the board. Things need to be vetted within, and the entire company needs to be on the same page. There is a right way to let people go. Unfortunately, it happens. It does. I mean, it's been happening for eons, right? I mean, even if you look at like GM, and people talk about like the bottom performers getting let go. First of all, personally, there's a bold statement here. A company has a right to let go of people if they're not performing. And in any organization, you're going to have people that are bottom performers. And why would a company in a capitalistic society why do you have to keep poor performers? Don't you want to have the best people on your team? I mean, is that a crazy thought, Serge?
No, I think you're right. Do we all agree, though, there's how we lay off people has changed, right? I rather get laid off over a Zoom call than have to come into an office.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously, an email or text can't work. But please, if you're going to lay me off, just tell me work from home that day, schedule a Zoom call, let's do it, because there's no way I want to get laid off face-to-face or in person. And have to do that whole commute, everything about it.
I listen, it happened to me once, and I came in early, and it was a crappy day. I was commuting. I came in early just to get let go, and it was snowing, and thank God that bar was open at 10:15 in the morning. I'll tell you that much. But anyway.
I think this is kind of it's a similar idea to me to like candidate experience, right? Like, at the end of the day, candidate experience for 99% of the people who don't get the job, it's going to be a negative experience because there's rejection.
Right.
But it's like, does that mean we just go, well, we'll forget about it? Well, who cares about it? No, we want to make it better. But at the end of the day, you got to realize, you don't know how you cannot do the layoff with some sort of disappointment in there.
Let me do a quick quote here. Everyone knows my story. Before I pivoted into recruiting, I was over at Vayner. I got let go, and Gary famously said, he said at LinkedIn Talent Connect, it's more important how an employee feels on the way out than the way in, right? And you know, it's like, are you leaving somebody in a good relationship? Are you giving them a soft landing? Are you doing it empathetically? Are you doing it the right way? It happens in business. It's just it's like living, breathing, getting fired, right? It's just part of life. But how you do it, and how do you care for that person and provide them a soft landing at this terrible time, especially when the economy is crap and, you know, so many people are out of work and it's tough. Do it with empathy. It's not that hard.
Quick story too. So I did a video about GM. So there was a post on LinkedIn where somebody said, "Hey, I just got let go from GM via text message on a Monday morning, along with 11,000 other people." That post came across my feed, so of course I did what any normal content creator would do. I made a post about it.
Yeah.
But that post went absolutely viral. 2 million, 3 million views on TikTok, another couple million on Instagram. Got picked up by a newspaper. And if you read the comments on even in a newspaper article, part of the problem was people were saying, "I've seen the GM commercial where it's like, hey, build a happy life, come retire with us." And it's like, they're painting this rosy picture. And then on the back end, here's a text message, stop showing up to work. And so I think, like, when it comes to employer brand, which we're going to talk about, you got to be cognizant of like the things that you're doing on the back end are going to impact your employer brand. And GM's a consumer brand. So like, those aren't just 11,000.
No, it ripples.
People.
There's ripples there, man. There's ripples. It affects brand marketing. So we could listen. This topic is not going anywhere, and I feel like it's going to be a consistent topic that we're going to have going on, and we could beat this one, down. But I want to hear what people are saying in the comments. Get involved. How could they do it better? And what's going on here with Kristin?
I blocked this guy. I blocked this guy.
Yeah, that's got to go.
Apparently works at Apple and an X, but it looks fake profile.
All right, so we're just going to ignore that, folks. Be adults in the room here. Let's keep the show moving, and we got some fun stuff to talk about. Let's get to the event roundup. Let's do it. That is mid-March. I will be there. Joel will be there. Danielle will be there. Serge, are you going to be there?
I'm going to be there.
Woo! Vegas, baby. We have so many things to get to, but before we get to that, this squad, the full purple Acorn team, is going to be in San Diego for Talent Acquisition Week next week, and our very own Ben Morrison will be taking the stage over at Laugh Factory. This is going to be a good one. We also have our friends from Hopefully Marketing. We have the Sunset Social that's happening on Monday night, right at 4 o'clock to kick things off. We have a lot going on, and this is a first, guys. We are going to be doing the HR Morning Show live together in person from the resort on Tuesday morning. So this is a first for us. I'm excited because I feel like it's like kind of like the Super Bowl, and we're doing like the pregame show, like ESPN College Game Day. Joel, are you excited?
Dude, I'm so pumped. It's like being in your presence and doing this live show. It's going to be the biggest honor of my life. No, but in all seriousness, it's going to be awesome. I'm excited just to meet like so many people who I've met online that we're going to meet in real life as well, which I'm excited about. Serge,
doesn't Ben look presidential in that photo? Like it looks like he's like no, he looks like he's about to address the crowd.
He looks like he's campaigning for sure.
I wonder what his platform is. I wonder what he stands for. We're going to find out in a little bit what he stands for. Joel, make sure you dig into that one. So TA Week, we have a lot going on. Our friends at ERIN, our friends at Fountain, all the homies are going to be there. We have so many amazing people to see, and in person, a lot of exciting stuff happening.
Serge, what are you excited about?
Well, did you know that Ben had a talent outside of being our producer?
I've seen his stand up in Vegas. He's actually funny.
Is he funny?
Amazing.
Okay.
I thought he was funnier than the headliner in Vegas. I mean that, Ben. I told you sincerely. I thought it was better.
No, I'm not surprised. I think that's going to be fantastic because he is a funny guy. Producer, I'm not so sure, but as a comedian, he's pretty good.
No, Ben is a legend, and
Ben is a legend. No, I'm excited for TA Week. Like, what do you guys have planned?
Well, here's what I love about these events. It's the first big event of the year where we're bringing together all the crew. We're all going to be there, and it's great to see so many familiar faces, meet people that you engage with online or on LinkedIn. You converse with them on the phone and email, and then we just get to hang out. And we have a lot of fun surprises. Any of my homies that are going to be there, I got some goodies for you, so make sure you hit me up when you're there and just tell me your shirt size. We'll hook it up.
Let's go.
So, we have TA Week, and then we have Transform coming up on that, and then we have a whole bunch of other fun things coming up this year. But in the comments, tell us what your strategy is. What events are you going to? Where are you going to be this year? Are you going to be out there? Well, we'd love to hear about it. So let's keep this show rolling. And we have a first-time guest, long-time listener. Usually his camera is off for a good reason. But let's get to it. Special guest alert.
There we go.
This feels
Ben Morrison in the house.
Very surreal. This feels very surreal.
Yeah, I mean, you didn't even give yourself a graphic, but this is like it's kind of like
Rita. I will be so interesting and perfect because I'm running the comments as well, so you better watch out.
All right. Well, Rita obviously knows all about you, but Ben, why don't you give us an intro? We know who you are, but a lot of our viewers may not. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, stand-up comic and producer. I'm part of the trio, the dream team that started the old Purple Acorn network. We got the man in the king chair, Mr. Evan White. Shout out Evan White.
White Evan.
This is his brainchild. I worked with Evan for years doing branded for a bunch of his different clients. As Evan began to work more in the HR space, he looked around and said, HR has a lot of, one-off podcasts, but no real media network, and he said, "What do you feel about building a CNN for HR, a Fox
Love it.
News for HR,
Love it.
a News Nation for
News
HR?"
Nation.
And he engaged his collaborator Melinda. Shout out Melinda. She's the partner, the homie, the partner in crime. So the three of us started Purple Acorn Network. Started with the morning show and then moved on to our other shows, Hire Her Talent Collective, and then my first job with upcoming guest Mike Wood. Shout out Mike Wood. You're going to see him later. My first job, by the way, such a good show. Honestly, anyone who's watching this, please tap into my first job. Mike interviews people, the movers and shakers in the HR, talent, and tech world, and talks about how they got their start. And we have heard some extremely funny stories, like John Baldino. Not only did he have a head of hair, he used to be a dancer. I bet people didn't know that one. Yep.
What kind of dancer?
He was a professional dancer, John Baldino. Magic. Well, I don't want to blow his spot up, but the episode's live. If you just go to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Purple Acorn, all of our shows are available. All of our shows.
Ben, you've been at a lot of these live like HR conferences, and you've been around, right?
I have been around.
What, like when you initially got to one of these conferences, like what was your thought? Like, because it's HR spaces, for people who are outside of it, it might seem, I don't know. What were your kind of initial reactions to the HR space?
Well, I mean, initially I was like, this would be a great setting for a Christopher Guest movie. I thought this would be a mighty win, best in show. I mean, it is ripe. It is ripe with comedy.
Wow. All right. Well, that's good. I mean, what's been the most surprising thing for you about the HR space? Like what's shocked you? What have you experienced that you've been like, I just was not expecting this?
Well, I didn't know Flo Rida was big in the HR community. That was definitely, yeah. I mean, Flo Rida, he's a hip hop artist, but he also runs recruiting for a bunch of Fortune 500 companies. So that's why he was the featured guest at what was it? Was it Transform last year?
It was. And who do we have this year? You know who we got this year at Transform?
No, actually.
Timbaland.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, we're gonna have Timbaland, so I'm excited about that.
Hey, get that bag.
Grinding on stage. That's what I always love. All right, so you do a lot of our live production too at these conferences.
Mm-hmm.
What's like been the most memorable moment out of any of the conferences you've been to so far?
Well, that is a good question.
Should be prepared for this.
Personally, Evan did an event. We went to the Chris Angel show.
Oh yeah, I was there.
Yeah, that was quite an experience. Chris Angel, he was
pitching himself nonstop,
and I think pretty drunk while he was doing the show. It was a great time, though.
It was good. It was fun.
I think the most surprising thing is that how tight knit the community is. You begin going to these conferences and you begin seeing the same faces everywhere. Everyone's really friendly, and not, how do I say this? Not HRE. Everyone's very real, very human, very down to earth. And you can kind of begin to see how this world works. Everyone is relying on each other, and it's also seeing how technology is changing the industry. I think a lot of people in the space.
You could just be honest; it's just replacing us, right?
No. As someone who works in production for HR, it better not. I see you, ChatGPT. I see you, DeepSeek. You ain't gonna replace us. We're here to
replace each other. What? Okay, so Laugh Factory TA Week. Get us up to speed. What is going down?
Well, one of the events we're doing at TA Week that was put together is we're going to have a laugh. So this is actually going to be a really fun night. We have essentially rented out the Laugh Factory SD, the very famous Laugh Factory. We're going to have a big old charter bus to get all you crazy people over there. And we're going to do a stand-up comedy show where I will be doing the stand-up comedy, be minding my P's and Q's. But it's going to be a crazy week because I'm taking a red eye to Canada tonight, and then I'm on tour with a TikTok star named Nurse John. So I'm opening for Nurse John in Ottawa, 2 shows in Montreal, 2 shows in Toronto on Sunday night, and then I'm flying to TA Week bright and early Monday morning to be there to shoot the opening ceremony for Purple Acorn and get ready for all of our productions there. So it's going to be nuts. But I will be nice and warmed up for the San Diego Laugh Factory. Very excited to. I think it's going to be interesting because a lot of people in that world, in the world of HR, talent recruiting, only know me as the Purple Acorn producer, and they're gonna be like, "What why is this producer guy at the Laugh Factory?"
Definitely call us all out and make fun of us.
I am absolutely not going to do that because I like this job and I would like to do it.
Well, and our friends at Fountain are going to be there as well, which we're really excited about. So, where can people find like more of your work? Like, do you have like your own YouTube channel? Because I want to get a flavor of this.
I would say the best place is youtube.com/Ben the Morrison. I'm Ben the Morrison on all socials. And give a sub on YouTube because I will be announcing the release date for my upcoming comedy special very soon. It is finally done in the can, so I'm going to begin to roll it out over the next month, and I'm going to drop it on YouTube for everyone.
And you got a bunch of followers on TikTok too. We were kind of like, what's the word for that? We were I was gonna say combining, but that's not. We were relating on that. So
you are the TikTok.
Bonding.
You are the TikTok master of the HR world. Everyone knows it. So I will. I seek to learn from you. And now that TikTok is not in fact going anywhere, it's time to re-dig into that particular social network.
Well, I love it. Well, guys, if you're at TA Week, if you're at going to Transform, if you're going to any event, you'll likely see Ben there. So please go say hi to him. Say, hey, I've seen you on the Purple Acorn show. And then put him on the spot and make him tell a joke on the spot, which maybe I'll do. Like, you got to give us a joke right now. You got to give us a joke.
I'm not going to do that.
Right now.
That's probably my biggest pet peeve about being a comic is when people meet you and they find out you're a comedian, they're like, "Oh, tell me a joke." And it's like when you meet someone who's like a doctor, you're like, "Oh, operate on me." You like
it's like when you're in recruiting and they're like, "Fill this role." You're like, I don't even have a role to fill. So
how often do people meet you and find you a recruiter and you're like, "Oh, can you get me a job?"
Dude, the amount of people that meet me and just go, Can you make me a TikTok or like something stupid? It happens all the time. All right. So
well,
anyway,
you're a star, baby.
I know. It's really a joy. It's a joy. Like when I'm at the gym and nobody recognizes me, it's a joy.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, all right. Well, let's move on to the next episode. Ben, great to have you here, guys. Shout out Ben in the comments. If you want to connect with him as well, we'll put his info in there. So Ben, we appreciate you. We appreciate everything that you do for the show. And looking forward to seeing you in real life in a week.
Everyone at TA Week, and now it's time for our favorite guest, the one and only Smart Recruiters, Alin. And I'm gonna. Woo! I know this because I'm the one actually pushing the buttons to get her going. So
we need a good transition.
It's time to do this. Alin, here we go.
What a transition, Alin. How's it going?
It's going. It is going. How are you?
I am doing fantastic. I'm curious. I'm assuming that you're going to be traveling really soon. Where are you heading to?
I actually am getting on a plane in 2 days. On Friday, I'm headed to Madrid. We are doing our company kickoff. So 400 Smartians all landing on the ground in Madrid for a week. And so that is the thing that is preoccupying my time. How do we kind of pivot and get all that stuff going? And then my next one, I think I'm going to hit Transform. It'll just be there. Yeah, but I'll hit Transform. And then I have an interesting one after that. May not be on everybody's radar. I'm going to be at Recruity, which is in Budapest.
Ooh, I've never heard of that one.
To an Eastern European audience. On the changes in talent acquisition. So that's going to be a fun one. Excited about that.
That's going to be a fun one. Yeah. Well, Alin, when I heard that I was hosting this segment with you, I was really excited because there's a lot of news happening in the AI space. And obviously this weekend, there was a big shockwave that happened. And I'm like, who is the resident AI guru in HR tech, and I'm giving you the crown. So I'm going to be asking you questions on what the hell is going on. Let me go to the timeline, just
Yeah.
as what's happened in the last couple of days. So on Saturday, China's DeepSeek AI model came out, impressed everyone, and it achieved R1 status, which I have no clue what it means, but I think it's important. The one factor here that we have to consider is there is challenges in China with the type of chips they get compared to the type of chips we can leverage in North America, pretty much everywhere in the world. So that was an interesting. Then they came out and said it only cost us $5.6 million. And we did it around like a couple of years, like really quickly. I think actually it was 6 months. Then DeepSeek dethrones ChatGPT on the App Store as the number one downloaded app. And yesterday, the stock market basically crashes. Like Nvidia lost 600 billion in market cap. What is going on? What is DeepSeek? Give me your insights. Like, is this going to be helpful?
It is so okay. So this is so fascinating. So we've been talking for a while that we are in an AI arms race, right? But everybody's been having their eyes on the big guys, Google, Apple, Intel. Everybody's playing around with their CPUs and their chips, and this huge investment. In fact, entire governments have been investing in these large economic infrastructures around manifesting and manufacturing massive amounts of CPU strength and power, because the belief was you had to have these big, huge, and really modern CPU and chip components in order to make and evolve as fast as you needed to. And basically what China did, what DeepSeek did, is they said, yeah, hold my beer. I don't need that shit. Right? They did it on older CPUs because they don't have access to some of the new stuff everybody's out there using. They did it in a huge reduction in time and a huge reduction in cost. What that basically means is this barrier, this kind of perceived barrier around how we can innovate and how fast we can move in the AI space, which is basically broken to bits. So the stock market went crumbling in this space because, again, we have built this model around the idea that all of these big companies, NVIDIA included, all of them are going to be required to really be able to allow us to move forward. And we broke that model, which is huge, 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 huge.
It is huge. First of all, do we believe them? I'm a little skeptical. I'm not sure because I was just researching a little bit, and some AI folks came out and said there's no way. Like just calculating how many GPUs they needed. Obviously, they have older chips, but not everyone's on the same page that they actually accomplished this.
Well, see, that's the question, right?
What do you think?
I think they did it. Here's the deal. I think they did it. I think there is very little that really smart people with a core intent can't accomplish. They can do this sort of stuff. It's possible, right? But the challenge is they did it using different mental models for how you make this stuff happen. And that's challenging our belief systems. And the first thing that happens when people do that is people go, you couldn't possibly. That's not how it's done. That's not how we built. You have to have this to do it. If you don't have it, it won't work. And the entire industrial, particularly the technology industrial component, is going to push back on this and say it's not possible. It's not possible. They did it, and we're going to only see the proof in the pudding in the next few weeks as people start going out there and using this model, testing it, seeing if it's operating and working. Here's the deal: it doesn't even have to be as good as.
No.
Has to be close to and show some hints that they can head that direction. I think they're going to be able to do that easy. Now, again, I could be proven wrong. It won't be the first time, but that's what I think is going to happen. And by the way,
have you tried it?
Yeah, I've tried it. It looks good.
Yeah, it felt. It's funny because I was running it almost side by side with ChatGPT, and it felt very similar in the type of task that I would leverage it for. Obviously, like there's usage that probably ChatGPT, as far as their models going up, are probably better. But I was impressed. I was impressed both on the app and using the desktop version of it. It worked really well. So I guess we'll see on that end. But what does it mean for HR tech? Like, Because if you look at the key things you said there is like, it's going to be cheaper, right? It's going to be faster to get to a point of the next level. That means a lot in HR tech because there is a lot of companies building on the backbone of AI or what AI looks like right now.
100%. So this AI arms race kind of has lots of tiers to it, right? So the first is let's figure out how we can build it. The second is we start taking a look at the technology industries. HR tech is one of them that is going to be leveraging this sort of tech to be able to create innovations in their own platforms. And transparently, listen, we've been talking about this for years now. In the last 18 months to 24 months, we've seen a lot of companies go in and say, okay, I'm committing. We're going to do this. We're going to kind of go after this AI piece. But transparently, it is cumbersome and it is a huge investment to get over the line. Most people's core platform rails, kind of the operating infrastructure that they're built on, has to be completely reconstructed. And that's a very costly exercise. Now, you start putting in a cheaper, more efficient modeling tool to allow you to accelerate and to do things at pace and scale quicker than you could do them before. You now can start to hit those ideas everybody's been sitting on for a while, and they weren't able to fully invest in. Because remember, guys, HR tech, and I say this coming from a TA tech firm. Listen, we're not gargantuan. Nobody in this industry has huge, deep pockets to the level like Google or Apple or NVIDIA. Right. So although the pace and the desire for the pace of change has been fast and everybody's been putting their foot on the gas pedal, everybody's been running up against cost and efficiency and really trying to balance their bottom line with how to get there. This starts to maybe break that open a little bit. So I'm excited to see if anybody starts picking it up and starts thinking about how to elevate and expand how fast they go.
Are you concerned that AI in general and how quickly this is going, it's going to disrupt the SaaS business model, which a lot of HR tech is built on? Like if you think about how quickly and efficient and how small of teams that can build solutions that would compete with some of the largest solutions in the space, are we in for a major shift in that whole landscape?
Yeah, we are. Yeah. We're in for a big shift, and I think we are maybe a week away from getting to understand what that might be. But yes, we are in for a big shift. I think George LaRocque's been doing a good job talking to everybody about this out there, right? If people aren't paying attention to what he's talking about, you should be following him. Yes, attention. He's really talking about changes in pricing models. There is a change in consumption. There is a change in how people are actually going to both be purchasing and evaluating their technology stacks, right? So again, we have to, across the board, these technologies are going to start to break the back of this idea that you go and buy something, you invest in it for a 3 to 5 year contract, and then you're supposed to go in and invest huge amounts of money to implement it and build an architecture infrastructure around it. It's not fast enough. It's not scalable. And that model doesn't work for businesses so much anymore. So a lot of stuff is going to shift in that space. So keep your eyes open. I think you're going to see a lot happening in this space in the next few weeks.
There's probably a lot of practitioners listening right now. I mean, oh my God, like I don't even know where to start. What do I do? How, I need tools, but how do I even evaluate this? How do I make sure that I'm not stuck with tools that's going to be outdated really shortly? What's your advice for these practitioners and HR leaders that are looking at tools to be able to help them?
Yeah. So I talked to a lot of people in this space, a lot of practitioners who are looking and trying to figure out what to do next. The biggest thing I'm seeing out there is just a sense of angst and fear to jump off the cliff and do the next thing because we're not sure, right? We don't have a path forward. You are, let's be clear. At this point, we are in a space where we are pioneering fully new territory. And I think that's the first thing. You have to kind of accept that's where we are. There's not going to be some golden ROI matrix is going to suddenly answer this problem for you, which we're used to, right? Okay. So if that's the case, then what do I need to do if I'm buying? I need to, take a step back and forget asking what can I buy to make what I'm doing today more efficient or more, cheaper in those elements. And instead ask the question, what's the root of what I really need to get done? What am I really trying to, and if I could do it in any way I wanted to, how would I do it? Right? How would I, and then work from there to start thinking about the tech and the solutions that are out there to do it. A lot of tech is opening up new ways to solve old problems. And I think that's the first step, right? So think that way. And you want to find, then the next piece is find a vendor or a technology platform. One, I'm just going to say it really quick. If your technology platform isn't AI first, it's not going to last you. It's just not. So, okay, no matter what the game is around it, there's a lot we have to do around compliance and trust and all those pieces. But if the companies you're getting ready to work with don't have teams of people who understand AI, who are working AI every day, who are thinking about the smart ways to integrate it into their platform, that platform's going to be left behind. So don't even go there. The next thing this is my answer on that one. And then you just have to go make sure that you work with somebody who's going to be open to the fact they don't have all the answers. That's the next piece.
Yeah. Really good advice. But what I've been seeing is a lot of HR tech companies kind of downplaying the AI element of their solution because they're concerned about the longer sales cycle. Just because of regulation, there's still a lot out there. The Workday case is not settled. So some vendors have been downplaying the AI element just to not lengthen their sales cycle. Do you think that's happening? Or I've heard it a couple times.
Oh, it's 100% happening. It's 100% happening. And I think that is a clear sign that you have some vendors and people driving businesses who don't understand. They're playing a short game, not a long game. And we are not, a short game will get you to maybe some quick wins. But it's not going to cross you over the line in 18 months. And this is happening too fast. You can't play a short game like that in a world where the pace of change is as rapid as it is today. That's my thought process. That's, when I'm working, as we're working at Smart Groups, and I'm working with, our architects, and we're thinking about how we talk about what we're doing out there. And here's the other thing I'll say. You also have a lot of people who are saying we're tired of hearing about AI. It's, really not that big a deal. Let's not talk about it so much anymore. I think that's fake news, dude. I think it's here. And the question isn't, do you have it in your platform? The question is, how is it integrated? How are you working with it? And how are you thinking about it going forward? Because it's not AI is AI, but are you thinking about agents? Are you thinking about creating a digital workforce? Are you thinking about the rails in which your platform is built on? Do you have an ability to actually assess the capabilities of your AI on a consistent basis? These are things more and more consumers of these products are going to start asking for because their CEOs are asking for it. And if you're not able to talk about it and just kind of put your head in the sand like an ostrich and pretend we're not doing this, I think you're going to be left behind. I know, I know you're going to be left behind.
You are going to 100%. There's no doubt in the landscape that we have right now that is moving so quickly. And I think DeepSeek is a perfect example of, and we're going to see a lot of that in the next couple of years. So everyone at Smart Recruiters is heading to Madrid, or the majority? You said around 400. Everyone is heading. And Rebecca's going to be there as well?
Absolutely. She's going to be on stage as well. We're going to be doing, and actually Chad's going to join us just with my exec team to do a little, do some exec interviews, talk a little bit about where we're heading from a direction perspective, and we'll start releasing that shortly after. So we've got some stuff happening. We're pretty excited about it. Listen, in this climate, I think it's important to say in this climate to invest in pulling 400 people from around the globe into one location to talk about how to align and get our stuff together so that we can start supporting and solutioning for what businesses really need. That's a huge investment, and it shows you where we're headed and what we're focused on.
Yeah. I've been to a lot of conference working for big companies, and I've rarely seen a whole company come into one area at one time. Really expensive, but there must be a plan here. What else is coming out with anything with Smart Recruiter? So you kind of hinted at something next week as an announcement. Do you want to give us a download before? Can we get the scoop? Or
you're always trying, sir. No, you got what you're going to get. You got what you're going to get.
Fair enough.
Now, I will say this. Listen, we're continuing to evolve on the product front. Everybody knows that.
Yeah.
I think there are some, I'll tease you guys out with a few things that maybe you should be starting to consider. What does it really mean to have an ATS? Are those even relevant? I don't know. How does AI play into the future? How is it really pragmatic and practical? I think we need to have that conversation. What is a digital workforce? Some new terminology we're going to start playing around with for people. And how do you start buying this stuff in a way that makes sense for businesses?
I love those teasers. I want you to have the best travel, the best trip. I hope the conference goes really well. We'll be at TA Week next week, and I'm not sure what's going on with this segment, but you'll probably be pretty busy. So we'll catch up on the other end of TA Week.
We'll catch up on the other
Yeah.
side. It's a fabulous time at TA Week, and we'll see you on the flip side.
We'll see you on the flip side. Thanks a lot, Aline.
Thanks. Bye.
I don't know. I think I do that better than Serge with the Global Report. What do you think, Joel?
Ooh, I feel like Caesar right now.
Alin.
All I know is Alin always does an amazing job. So
yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter who you throw. You can throw anybody. You can throw anybody in front of them. But let's speak about amazing. Let's talk about ERIN for a little bit. If you guys are regulars of the show, we're grateful and we thank ERIN for the support, and they're amazing. And we always talk at a high level what they do, employer referral app. But let's dig in a little bit deeper today. We're going to focus on a new aspect of ERIN that maybe you're not familiar with, the Rule of 10. Do you guys know what the Rule of 10 is? Joel, do you know what the Rule of 10 is?
If you send me 10 pairs of shoes, Evan White, I will post about it.
Let's dig into it, because Joel and I always talk about this all the time. Your employees are your biggest advocates and potentially could be your best recruiters too. When they truly enjoy where they work, they want other people that they like to work with them. So how do you do that? And that's what ERIN is all about. It's an incredible platform designed for that. So let's dig into the Rule of 10. Let's talk about it. Start with 10 candidates referred. Begin with those 10 referrals made by your employees, and this serves as your benchmark, right, to see how this is going to work. 8 of them accept that referral. So out of the initial 10, 8 typically show interest and accept the referral. This means that they're genuinely interested in exploring opportunities in your organization. All right, let's take it down a step to 6. 6 complete the job application. Further narrowing down that funnel, right? So 6 took the time to do it. They're interested, and they're showcasing a deeper level of interest. Out of those 6, 1 is hired. After going through the interviews and evaluations, 1 of those is hired. This app makes it easy. This is it easy on the TA side, on the employee side, on the referral side, all wrapped into one. And that's what ERIN is all about. So definitely check out ERIN, and you can find out how to get a slot of your own over at purpleacorn.io/free. But we got more, folks. We have more, folks. We have a lot more. Today is the premiere of the ERIN Effect. I know the ERIN Effect. Joel knows the ERIN Effect. Those who know the ERIN Effect. The ERIN Effect, where Mike Staffy and our very own Evan White will dive into the white paper put out by ERIN that outlines groundbreaking insights pulled from millions of referrals. I said that. Millions of referrals, millions of users, and $500 million in referral payments. And that is when? That is today at 1 o'clock. Tune in. It's going to be streaming across our LinkedIn pages. You go to purpleacorn.io. It's going to be streaming on YouTube and a whole lot more. So big shout out to our friend Mike Staff and the entire team over at ERIN. We're excited to hang out with them at TA Week in San Diego next week. And I'm excited to see the kingmaker, the rainmaker himself. I'm sorry, 1 o'clock Pacific time. 1 o'clock Pacific time. That's coming up. I don't even know what time that is on the East Coast, but check it out. The ERIN Effect. Big shout out. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Evan. And let's keep it rolling. 10 a.m. on Pacific time.
Let's go.
1 o'clock East Coast.
Red Shoe Crew in the house.
In the house.
Hello. I don't know why I'm doing that, Roy. Sarah, great to have you with us.
Hello. It's wonderful to see you, Joel.
Yeah, it's great to have you here. I don't know if we've met before, so what would be helpful is why don't you give us a quick intro? Who are you? What do you do? Who do you do it for? And I can get caught up, and so can our viewers.
Sounds wonderful. Well, first off, my name is Sarah Rodehorst. I am the CEO and co-founder of Onwards HR.
Love it.
An offboarding platform that helps people-focused organizations navigate some of their toughest moments. So think layoffs, think restructures, M&A, and even everyday separations. And we do it by helping organizations embrace compliance and compassion.
I love that. I love that. I love that compliance and compassion together.
Yeah.
So we were talking earlier in the show, and I'm not sure if you were on yet, but we actually one of the news headlines that we had was all about this.
Yeah.
We were specifically talking about layoffs, and probably riffs are under that as well. I feel like these headlines have been happening a lot. So I'm gonna pick on one right now. I'm gonna look at Facebook or Meta.
Yeah.
Mark Zuckerberg obviously laid off 2,000 low performers. So when you see something like that, like, what's your perspective? What do you think about that?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it is something that is happening more and more,
Yeah,
right? And I think if there's, what was it, 2000? I mean, that's a
2,100, I think. Yeah.
Oh, 2,100. Yeah. I mean, that's a lot of employees, right? All in one go. And so it's one of those things that there needs to be a lot of thought behind what's happening. Is it really just performance? Is it an evolution that the organization is kind of rebalancing and really refocusing? A lot of organizations are going through a little bit of an ebb and flow right now. AI is a big piece of that.
Yep.
So I think what kind of probably came to everyone's mind is it low performance or is it something else? And one of the things we really believe in is in transparency. So if something is happening, like let's talk about what's really happening.
What are some of the, because I hear a lot about transparency.
Yeah.
I think in general, right? We think about salary transparency. You think about transparency with like your employer brand. When it comes to the offboarding of employees, why do you think there's such a hesitancy to be transparent? And like, what are some of those things that hold people back from, being transparent with employees?
Well, I think they need to kind of own it in a sense, but I think there's a risk, right? One mistake as part of the offboarding process can have a detrimental impact on the corporate brand and reputation, as well as it can result in litigation, right? So there's fear. There's fear behind it from an organization standpoint. There's fear from a team standpoint. There's a lot of that fear that sometimes causes organizations to make some poor choices, right? And they try and lean towards other excuses when, in large part, they should really be transparent about what's going on if there is a reorganization. One of the things that they also might be wanting to prevent is to have to abide by some of the laws that are out there that protect employees in a layoff scenario. Right? When it is poor performance, it may not be classified as a layoff. But if it is a downsizing or a restructuring, and it is involuntary and to no reason for that exiting employee, then it gets classified as a layoff. And there are rules and regulations at the federal level and at the state level that organizations need to abide by, which includes paying out benefits. It includes advance notification, all of things that lean themselves towards a compassionate, respectful, empathetic layoff situation.
So onwards, you just deal with offboarding, right? So like how did you kind of get into this side of the business? Because I've obviously talked to a lot of people who are active in helping attract talent and getting people onboarded.
Right.
And obviously we talked to a
The
lot
happy
of HR
side,
people.
the happy side of HR.
Yeah, like what? Like, did you just wake up one day and you're like, you know what? I think this is the thing, because you might be one of the only people I've met that kind of deal in this space. So how did this come about?
Yeah, that is a very good question, and I have had that before. I was not a young child and say, I want to grow up and lead an offboarding platform. That is not what happened whatsoever. But one of the things that I have found, so my background is I actually studied computer science and psychology in college, and it's led a long career in really transformation efforts.
Mm.
So I found myself kind of gravitating towards those more complex, harder situations and helping organizations through them. I've just done it all my career. And so really how we found out about this or really stumbled on this problem, my background was actually in more of the health insurance space. And my co-founder and I were doing independent consulting. And I was at ADP and a lot of organization from startup all the way to IPO. And what we ended up working with a company called Change Healthcare at the time, and they had just acquired McKesson's technology business. And so they were going through an M&A activity, and they had an exit team. And a lot of people, think and they are always focused on the employees, and we also are very, very focused on the employee and making sure that's a positive experience. But there are teams that are responsible for this exit program and making sure it goes well. And this was one of those teams, and they had 6 people dedicated to the process, 3 to do the work and 3 to check the work, because again, one mistake as part of the exit process can be detrimental. And think if you're that person who made that mistake, right? You're impacting someone's lives. And so it was really important. And through that and through my career, there's 3 things that are really important to remember. Compliance is hard, technology transforms, and fundamentally, people matter. And so we heard about this problem. The company had budget. They were searching for a platform to help them, in large part, pay out severance. They were paying out severance, but they found themselves paying the wrong people the wrong amount of money. And those people that were owed severance, the wrong amount. And the fastest way to botch up an exit experience is get someone's benefits wrong.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So anyway, we ended up putting a prototype together for them to help them solve the severance, really managing severance and all the documents and all the complexities that go around it. And that was the advent of Onwards HR. And really the value that we bring is that we help with all that really, really hard stuff so that HR has more time to focus on what really matters, which is making sure that it's a personalized exit experience and a supportive process.
We were talking about this earlier as well. I think of I compared it to candidate experience, okay? Because with candidate experience, obviously one person's going to get the job, maybe a couple people if there's multiple openings. So that means if you got thousands of applicants, a lot of people are going to get rejected, and it's painful, right?
Right.
So, and candidate experience job searching is brutal enough. I feel like with this type of situation, it's it's one of those ones where it's gonna hurt regardless. So like, how do you make it more compassionate, more about people, and like, what are some of the big mistakes that you see companies make?
Well, the first thing I think you guys kind of talked to it earlier is you make it inhuman. You use automation, right? If you're communicating out to a person who has spent the last X number of years, and some of these, larger Fortune 500 companies, which is where we kind of specialize, they've spent their careers with these companies,
Yep.
right?
30
And
years sometimes.
yeah, and if you do an exit, if you notify someone that their time is up at that organization through an email, it is so impersonal and it's an insult. And so, like, number one is be human. Technology is not out there to replace humans. Like, the human element is around being present in those difficult moments.
Yeah.
And so it is being there. Just show up, right? Like, the hardest part is showing up. The organizations need to show up for their employees and have a personal conversation. So that's fundamentally number one. There is a role for email communication, but that is more in a company-wide announcement saying something may be coming, but your manager, someone will be having a conversation with everyone involved. So that gives people an opportunity to react, because they're going to react one way or another. And the last thing organizations want is for them to react on social media, which is what we're seeing.
And I was going to ask you, I mean, that seems to be more of the trend, right? We're seeing leaked, emails,
recording
layoffs. Like,
yep.
is that something companies need to lean into and like allow people to have a reaction? Like, where's that whole thing even spawning from? And can you even stop that from happening?
Well, first off, it, I think it's causing organizations to hold themselves to a higher standard.
Mm,
They should assume they're being recorded.
mm.
Therefore, they should put that effort behind it. A. But B, by having a personal conversation, you can let people react to you online, right? And there's actually studies that say that they're less likely to go through other channels to react if they have an opportunity to respond. Because fundamentally, in something so traumatic, people are going to want to react.
Yeah.
And what organizations want is for them to react to their manager, to have a conversation, and for them to feel supported.
You know, it's funny. I saw a layoff video recently where the manager actually handled it really, really well, and they were like, "Hey, I just want to say it's been a joy having you on the team," and like and
Yeah.
we were like not excited, but they were like they just showed that they cared, and it went viral. But it went viral because people were like, "Wow, what a manager! Like, I would love to work for someone like that." So I think to your point, almost like maybe they knew they were getting filmed. I don't know,
Well,
but
they may be or not. I think everyone should assume it, right? And it's one of those things like when things back in the day happened in closed doors in a corner and nobody talked about that word layoff.
yeah,
It was a secret and it was just on the down low and there wasn't the platforms that exist today, but now they're out there, right? And so it's one of those things that, you know, is it good? Is it bad? I'm not going to weigh in on it. But I think fundamentally, it has raised the bar for organizations on how they treat people as
yeah.
part of the exit process.
So treat people with empathy. Treat them like humans. Allow them that space to react.
Yep.
Any other advice that you would have for people or companies that might be watching this right now?
Yeah, I mean, severance is a big piece of it,
Mm,
right? And I think kind of talking about Facebook, and I don't know all the details, but in a poor performance situation, severance may not be offered as part of it. But in a layoff situations, in large part, it is. And so we recommend organizations offer severance to make sure that they ease the transition. Other avenues is outplacement benefits, right? That's helping people get the next position, provide these support channels. Something else we recommend is advance notice, right? So before it happens, before they're, got that pink slip, let them know what's happening because it's a lot easier to get a job when you have a job.
yeah.
And so it's just some of these fundamentals that I think a lot of organizations have just forgotten about. Technology makes things easy, and and a lot of organizations have kind of gravitated to those uncomfortable things. Let's use the easy button. And there's a moment that we really need to be human, and this is one of them.
A well-known company, they said that they just were trying to make things efficient.
Yeah.
Efficient, but it's just efficient doesn't always mean humane, and
Yeah.
especially if you're a consumer brand and you've just think of that detriment of laying off thousands of people, and then
Well,
they tell their friends, and it's a whole thing that I'm kind of in my mind, it's kind of bizarre thinking, but
Yeah,
um,
it's crazy, but there is a place for efficiency, but that is like automate your severance calculations,
yeah,
dynamically generate your documents, do the analytics to make sure there's bias, but make it an automated process. And that's in large part what we do is make those back office processes that can be very time consuming for organizations more efficient. But we do that so that they have more time to focus on the people part of it. And that really should not be replaced by technology.
yeah, I love that. That's so good. So Onwards HR, where can people find out about you? Where can people get resources? And if people want to connect with you, where can they connect with you personally as well?
Yeah, well, the best place for me personally is on LinkedIn. Very active on LinkedIn, like most of us.
Yes.
And the organization Onwards HR is also on LinkedIn and our website. Our website offers a wealth of information about layoffs, exits, how to be compassionate as part of the process, as well as ongoing compliance changes, because even in the last 6 months, there have been numerous changes. Like even in New Jersey, they're now requiring organizations to be transparent about if a layoff has been caused by AI. These are things that we are tracking. We are putting the information out there. So you can just follow us and know really kind of what you need to do to be compassion and bring in compliance as part of the exit process.
I love that. So guys, go check out Onwards HR, go connect with Sarah. And yeah, I've enjoyed this conversation. I learned a lot. And even that last piece about notifying employees that AI may have caused, I think that's huge. And it's
I think it was New York. I think I misspoke. I said New
Okay.
Jersey. It's New York. New Jersey is a
Same
whole
thing.
other host
Same
of
thing, right,
challenges,
Adam?
but that northeast corridor. Yeah.
No, I love it. Well, Sarah, thanks so much for joining the show. Hopefully, we'll have you in the future as well, and hopefully we'll meet.
Would love to come back.
Soon.
Thanks for having me, Joel.
All right, thanks, Sarah. And now we're gonna move on with the weather with our own weatherman, Serge.
Good morning, beautiful people. It's so good to see Sarah. Follow her. She's a good egg. But today's HR weather update, I have some stormy clouds over some political polarization. I don't know if you've heard, but there's a new U.S. president in office. So it's a topic that we can't ignore. And this is my gut instincts, but I feel that society is more divided than it's ever been. And I'm starting to see it seep into the workplace. And we got to stop that pretty quickly. Right now, CEOs are walking a tightrope. 86% of employees expect their CEOs to take a public stance on societal issues. But as we've seen with past controversies, there's a lot of them. One misstep can really hurt your business. And I think it's pretty dumb to do so. So we have become pretty tribal as a society, and our side can't do anything wrong. It doesn't matter what side of the political aisles you support, they both do really stupid stuff all the time. It doesn't mean you should ignore or excuse any wrongdoings because they're on your side or whoever you're following, right? Corruption, incompetent people exist in every party. On the flip side, there's some really well-meaning people that have your interests and the country's best interests. We should not decide who we vote for, in my opinion, by what party they represent. But anyways, I digress on that. Being inclusive means that you're willing to listen to all perspective, even the ones that you don't agree with. And for us HR folks, I think we have to navigate this. And there's a couple ways we can navigate. We can set boundaries, be respectful, or GTFO. Like we cannot tolerate people not being respectful. And we need to focus on a shared goal. Sport teams do this all the time. They have a bunch of people from different background, live experience, and they strive towards one common goal, which is usually winning the championship. So as HR leaders, like, our role isn't to pick political sides, but just to create a workplace where all voices can contribute without fear of judgment. So no more, if this person voted for this guy or this woman, I'm no longer talking to them. If this is your attitude, you're the problem. That's the HR weather for today. Let's turn those stormy clouds into clearer skies. Let's get back to the panel.
Oh, what a time to be alive. What a time to be alive here. Joel, this is spicy and up your alley. What's your hot take?
Oh, man. I think, look, I think you're right in a lot of ways with being able to have conversations. I think sometimes you also have to realize, though, that, like, man, there's a lot of, people have emotions and really deep feelings. So I think from both sides, sometimes, like, if people aren't agreeing with the way that you see things, you also have to be empathetic to how they're feeling. So I think it's like all of us, and obviously there's exclusions. There's some, if someone's just being hateful, that's a whole different thing. But I'm talking about people who genuinely care about other people, and I think sometimes we do need to take that step back and realize that, at least from my experience, most people I meet want other good things to happen for other people, and they're genuinely caring humans.
I agree.
And I think we also need to be really mindful of, like, media and social media and all of these things in our lives They are designed to get our attention
and divide us.
I am the king of clickbait. I will tell you what gets more attention than anything else. It is provocative statements that evoke emotion, and usually negative emotion. So you need to realize the game that's being played. The news channels have one goal. It's not to inform you about what's going on. It's to make you watch so they can sell ad revenue. So you got to just keep that in mind. Like, there's always an agenda there, but at the end of the day, when you're face to face with a human, are you going to be that person that cares about that other human and is willing to hear their side and listen, or not? You know?
Well, I'm glad you mentioned social media, because I have a proposal. So how about we do this? This is for all of the world. Everyone that leans left in their algorithm is mostly left-leaning content. For 1/4 of the year, they're going to get the opposite side of the algorithm. And we're going to flip that around. Basically, switch every couple of quarters. It would make a massive difference.
Now you're saying that the social media oligarchs should be more controlling of what we see in our feeds. Yeah, that's going to work out.
Yeah, well. But I do feel like, right? I do feel like, though, like, that is one of the things. Like, I mean, I'm not good. I don't post a lot about like political types of things, but I post about like remote work, and this is a great example. Whenever I do a remote work post, Facebook comments, I'll get like 900, and it's always the same type of person that's like, "You're lazy, go get a real job."
Yeah.
I get more negative comments on that, and then I get more views because of those negative comments. So I almost feel like social media is already kind of doing that, because you're much more likely to stay on a post and leave a long comment if it's something you don't agree with. If it's something you agree with, usually you just like thumbs up, agree, and then you just kind of move on.
I think we're all guilty of just not willing to listen to the other side, and we get stuck complete. And this happens in HR. I think even with hot topics in HR, return to the office is an interesting one. I'd love to see the perspective of actually having a conversation between a CEO that's like, we need everyone in the office, and someone like you who
we could do that on here. Let's make that happen. I think it's a good idea. We could have a panel conversation, production team. We could do that. I think that's an interesting one to really showcase. But at the end of the day, I think HR, their role is to create a safe space for people to work. If you want to come to work to avoid politics, you shouldn't be subjected to it. And if it is a place that created a safe space for political discourse, let it's done in a productive way at the right time and the right place. But if someone's opting out of it, saying, listen, I park my politics at the door when I come to work every morning, when I log in, if they're working remotely, then that's a safe space that they need to create.
Well, it's kind of like this whole, and we've talked about this in past episodes as well, where it's like the bring your full self to work thing.
Don't always.
Look, I think like I talk about this a lot in my videos, where it's like, you want to destroy your career, do what I did, tell people what you really think about stuff. Like,
yeah, it's a bad move.
I'm an outward processor, so like it's really hard for me. It works well in self-employment, but when you're trying to like, when you say to people what you really think, it's not always a good thing. And so but I think it's companies, like you said, Adam, it's like, it's up to people to create those spaces and like make people feel safe as well. But I also think as individuals, like, you got to think sometimes, like, is what you're saying like supposed to be said at work? Is it not? It's crazy.
All right. Well, this one could go on and on and on, but we have another caller coming in. Let's get to it.
Mike Wood, the legend himself. Welcome.
Welcome. Good morning. I have to add to the last conversation, though, with social media. So I moved to my current town probably about 3 years ago, and there's a town Facebook group. So I'm sure everybody knows that, in suburban America, you have like these town Facebook groups. And I started to see that everybody on the feed was posting about their dog getting out. Like every day it was somebody's dog that was wandering around town or whatever. So I decided to make a laugh about it and say, hey, the one thing I learned about this town when I moved here is that everybody's dog is out on the street. And of course, then the posts start coming, well, not my dog. And I'm like, okay, so you can't make a joke on social media now. So it's just, it's polarizing. So I spend most of my day on social media unfollowing people and keeping my tunnel vision content the way I like it. So anyway,
well, I think that's good advice. I think that's good advice. Actually, I was listening to the news yesterday, and they had a report on for if you listen or if you are on social media a lot, your happiness level goes down dramatically. And I agree with that. I think the less you can be on, the more positive you'll be. But anyways, let's think about there was no social media when you had your first job and you just launched a podcast called My First Job. It's amazing. It's available on the Purple Acorn network. Definitely check it out because you've had some great guests initially. Like kudos to you. I'm a big supporter of it, but I'm curious, what was your first job?
So I'm actually working on an episode where I'm gonna call my old boss.
Okay.
I still know where he is and still kind of in touch. I worked at a golf course when I was a kid. I was 15 and I picked up golf balls at a driving range, and that was my first job. And I ended up
That would be
working.
amazing. Unless you get hit,
think it
right?
would be well. You get used to it. You get a little shell shocked. So I would go into this thing called the picker, and it would pick up golf balls and whatever. And I would go in there with my CD player, and like this is my time. I can listen to a whole CD while I'm in here, and then you just hear like bang, 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 people hitting you, whatever. First day, you're like, I can't believe this. This is my nerves are shot. You get used to it though after a while. But yeah, the podcast is great. I was talking to Evan about like I wanted to start a podcast. I had done a podcast a couple of years ago, and I want to start a new one in HR. And I was trying to think of what's a unifying thing that everybody has, that everybody can think of. And so everybody remembers that first job. They all laugh about the stories about their first job. We've done about 8 episodes or so, and I've really enjoyed it. Like as was mentioned earlier, John Baldino was a dancer at one point. We've had people that have worked in kitchens with John also worked at a Friendly's. When he was a kid, just washing dishes. We've had Richard Rose now was working at a Amish smorgasbord place. Ooh. So we have some really interesting ones. Elena Valentine was like a T-Rex mascot at the Chicago Museum. It's great. It's a lot of great conversations, and it's what's really neat is that you see these little seeds of who people become that get planted back when they first start. So, John Baldino, we always go back to him. He learned when he was first starting out in HR, he really liked it, and he really liked dealing with the people. And so now that's kind of what he does. And Elena was very much about fighting for workers' rights, and that's something that she's very passionate about. I just play golf, but that was, so it's very interesting. I think it's a place that everybody can talk about together. And also like, let's look at what the current world of work is right now. I was part of a layoff last summer. The market is not good. It's not good at all. And so, what can we do to make the current job experience better for candidates and for the recruiters themselves? Because what I've learned through my career is that the recruiters and the candidates, they're all overwhelmed. And AI it has lots of promise, but it hasn't quite, circled that nut yet.
Yeah, well, let's talk about that because I was listening to one of your recent episodes with Jeff Taylor, the founder of Monster.com. We all know Monster in this industry, so it's a fascinating conversation. And one of the things that he said, which I was around in the early years of Monster, right? Like I actually competed against Monster probably in the mid 2005 era. And one of the things he said, and it hit me, is like, not much has changed in the last 20 years. Like, despite the technology advancement, everything that we've seen, we're still talking about the same problems. Obviously, they manifest in a different way, but it's pretty much the same problem. So that was fascinating. What was your take on that?
Yeah, so I've been kind of like an in-house analyst for TA vendors over the past couple of years. And one of the things that has really stuck to me, the tools have never been better than they are right now.
Oh, they're amazing.
But the time to hire and the overall like metrics are getting worse.
Yeah.
So what is getting in the way? So I have theories that.
What's your theory?
So I'm married to a recruiter, so I get to hear some of it.
Okay.
She works at a healthcare company. And so I think one of the things is that the recruiting managers are still overwhelmed. They're still overwhelmed with, you can have AI pick 10 candidates or whatever. But now we're getting to the point where like, okay, are those 10 candidates who they say they are? Or are they using AI to kind of beef up their resume? You still have to make the calls. You still have to go through the whole process, and you still have to deal with hiring managers who are dodging you or changing their requirements on the fly. So there's some fundamental problems there.
Yeah.
But I do think that someone will find a way around it, and I'm waiting for somebody to use AI to ease in the load on both the candidates and the hiring teams. But then also, I think, show that human element. I would guess that most people who have been rejected from a job in a cold way or whatever, they remember that.
Yeah,
and especially if it's a brand that they have used in the space. I think anyone that brings more humanity into the recruiting process is going to fly. I'm also, and I won't just say this because they're a sponsor of the show, but I'm very impressed with ERIN and what they do. The fact that you have all these tools that are out there, but yet referrals still matter so much because they can cut through the clutter. It's just so much.
I agree. And I think I'm a little bit more cynical. And I don't know what's caused that, probably being in the industry for 20 years. I'm not sure if it's going to be one solution. It's going to be a whole change in the ecosystem. It's going to have to be something really dramatic, right? And AI might be that catalyst that drives the complete change of our industry, where the candidate gets a better experience. Recruiters can actually manage all the roles they have. Everyone is having a better experience in roles, like time to fill, everything just falls into place. But it's going to take a really long time. So I'm still cynical that we're going to find that one solution. I think we're going to be in a very similar challenge in 5, even 10 years from now. But I'm hoping I'm wrong. One of the things that I've been reading your blog, so The Wrap. Everyone watching this, listening, it's actually a really good blog. And I would tell you if it sucked, but it's really good.
Awesome.
You gather some
bring
really
me
good information.
on your show to tell me that it sucks.
Yeah. Come on in. It sucks. I wouldn't. But there's a couple of things that came out in your latest blog. You curate some really good articles together. And one of the things that we're seeing is how are companies dealing with a massive onslaught of unqualified candidate, partly driven by AI applications. There's so many different factors, but how do we fix that right now? How do we get to a point that recruiters are not so overwhelmed?
I honestly don't know right now, because for years it was the candidates don't have the tools to be able to game the system. Now they have the tools. I can get an AI agent that will modify my resume to a bunch of different job postings and automate how much I'm posting. I just saw some company the other day, I forget the name of it, but like, yeah, we'll apply to 50 jobs a day for you. I'm like, great, that's less work for me. And so now you're still at zero, but I think that you still have to meet somebody in person or talk to them as a real, like, one-on-one to find out if they're real. It's almost like how often do you answer your phone if it's a number you don't recognize?
Never anymore. Like,
and
zero.
I don't know who leaked my phone number out there or what site, but I get so many messages that are like, "Hey, this is Kristin." I'm like, "Hi, Kristin, who are you?" And she's like, "Oh, are we meeting up?" I'm like, "No, this is a scam. It's 100% a scam." So like, there's all these scams that are out there, and they exist on the hiring side as well. So now that phones have been ruined pretty much for phone calls, like, hopefully, email has so much spam and stuff on it now. Hopefully that spam doesn't kind of move into the recruiting space. So, but I don't know what the real solution is right now.
Well, I think spam is already in the recruiting space, especially in the job advertising ecosystem, which I'm very familiar with. But I think I know where they found your phone number. I think I've seen it in a couple of bathroom stalls across the country. Just as a heads up,
for an okay time.
Exactly. Called Mike Wood. But you're going to be at TA Week next week, recording podcast live. What do you have planned?
So I'm reaching out to a couple different guests right now. I think Kevin Grossman's going to come on, Kristen Griggs, and hopefully some more. But I'll be there in San Diego. I love San Diego because I live outside of the Boston area, and it is freezing and miserable right now. So San Diego is always a beautiful place to go to. And I'm also very interested in the Airbnb that the Purple Acorn folks will be staying in, because this is kind of like a new kind of deal for me. Like, oh, now we're staying.
Who are you bunking with?
I have no idea.
Like a bunk with Joel?
You
guys coming up?
Do I get to pick? Do I get to pick my favorite? So yeah, I don't know, but it's going to be a little like the Real World house. So I'm kind of looking forward to the shenanigans of being in a house with a bunch of strangers and seeing what happens.
Yeah, you should have fun. I'm so fortunate that I'm actually staying at the hotel. I lucked out in that sense. So I did notice in your LinkedIn profile that you have open to work, and you definitely have a ton of experience in the HR tech ecosystem. So what type of role are you looking for anyone that's watching this? Like, Mike is a legend. He knows a lot. You should be hiring him. But Mike, what type of role are you looking for?
Oh, I really appreciate that, getting my open to work thing out there. So I will be starting a contracting role when we get back from San Diego that I don't think I could talk about now, but I still have availability. It's just a couple hours and whatnot, reporting on the space for people. But I'm a marketing guy, marketing communications. I kind of grew up in PR and marketing, and then fell into to HR tech in 2013. I worked for a company called Global Force, which is now WorkHuman, and really grew from, I think I was employee like 170 or something like that on a small comms team, to work there for 7 years, and really got to know a lot of the space, and then fell into analyst relations. So I would talk to, the Lori Rudimans of the world and some of the analysts at Gartner and IDC, and I kind of fell into that space. It's not necessarily something I want to do all the time, but these are the great people. And so I really got attuned at helping an organization tell their story. What's your story that's going to stand out against everybody else? And so if you need help with that, reach out to me. I've been around in the space for a long time. I love connecting people that are doing interesting things to other people that could help them. I think some of the best conversations I've had at events are at the bar, where you find out someone's doing a project and you could be a part of it. So I kind of got in on the early days of influencer marketing when I was at WorkHuman, and I ended up, that's how I met John Baldino. That's how I met a lot of these people that are kind of experts in the space. Is, you look out for the people that have an expertise and that are raising their hand and they want to say something. And so I built a lot of content out that way, content marketer. So I've done a little bit of everything. But yeah, definitely reach out and talk to me if you have need.
You can find Mike on LinkedIn. He's very active, Mike Wood, and also he's going to be at TA Week next week, and he's always around. So yes, definitely reach out to him. If you're at TA Week, go find him. You should be on My First Job podcast as well. Mike, pleasure. Looking forward to hanging out next week.
Yeah, thank you all for having me. I'll see you next week.
Good morning, Kristin. How you doing?
Hi, good. How are you doing?
Welcome to the HR Morning Show. Pleasure to have you on.
Thanks for having me. I'm super excited.
Well, let's get into it. And for anyone out there who does not know you, if you could give us a quick intro, tell us who you are and what you do best.
Yeah, sure. I'm Kristin Oravec, and I'm the Global Employer Brand Leader at Eaton Corporation. And for those that don't know who Eaton is, I swear we're like the largest company nobody's ever heard of.
What do you guys do?
So we are an intelligent power management company. So we manufacture anything that enables power. So like from circuit breakers to electric vehicle chargers to light switches. We have an aerospace division where we make like fuel pumps. So, and we have 90,000 employees across the globe.
It's amazing. It's amazing when people when those not sexy companies, those not household names that are tremendous. They've been around for a long time, and they are the backbone of this country. All those things that are made and the things that you have in your house that make things work, there's a company that does that, and there's people behind it, and there's production. 90,000 employees. How long has the company been around for?
Over 100 years. And we are one of 32 companies that have been on the New York Stock Exchange for over 100 years.
Amazing. 90,000 employees distributed across the U.S. Where are the offices? What is that? The manufacturing facilities?
Well, 90,000 employees globally. So we operate in about 170 countries.
Wow.
Yeah. So we're huge. Massive.
And so you have this giant global organization, this enterprise level organization. How do you align? How do you keep HR, marketing, comms? How do you keep everyone aligned to the EVP across departments?
Yeah, that's a huge challenge. So actually last year or 2 years ago, we started refreshing our EVP because we're a 100-year-old manufacturing company, right? So that's
let's just pause for a quick second. And EVP, for anyone out there who does not know, what does that stand for?
Employer value proposition.
Great. So we're not talking about executive vice president here, everybody. Employer value prop, which is important because Kristin leads global brand and learning, a leader over at Eaton. So we're going to get to that in a minute. So I didn't mean to interrupt you. Let's get the train back on the tracks here.
Yeah.
How do you keep it all together?
Yeah, so because we are a 100-year-old manufacturing company, that doesn't seem sexy, like you said, right? But we are working on really cool products, and we went through this whole digital transformation where we have analytics, and we have a bright layer platform where we can get all this data, and we can be smart about how we manage power for our customers. And so we want to let people know that, hey, we are kind of sexy. And so it was really a huge collaboration between the vice president of marketing and the vice president of comms and all the VPs of HR, right? Aligning on what is the company direction, and then how do we want to go to market as an employer, right? How are we going to tell that story?
Let's pause on that for a second and let's talk about the importance of employer branding, right? Because basically that's a perception of an organization in the candidate marketplace, right?
Yep.
How are you being perceived? We're not talking about how you're being perceived by your customers in that market, but you have to hire. You have 90,000 employees. There's turnover, there's attrition, there's growth, there's scaling. And how do you get the word out? How do people know about your organization? What do they think about it when they hear it? So leading the way, hey, listen, if I hear about this is a 100-year-old company, they're just old and they're not innovating, they're not doing anything. It is hypercritical to talk about growth and innovation, and more importantly, what it's like to actually work there. So you guys created a manifesto. Let's talk about this manifesto. Break it down for us. Some inside baseball here. And you're in Cleveland, right? You're in Cleveland?
I am in Cleveland, and I was actually at the Cavs game last night, and they won. So it's amazing. That's why I don't have a voice. I've been cheering.
Are you like an old school? Like, are you like an old school like LeBron fan? Like you? You still love him? Still love him?
So I'm actually from like a suburb of Akron where LeBron grew up. My cousin went to high school with him. Huge LeBron fan.
All right, manifesto in a positive way. Yes. Manifesto
in a positive way. How we define a manifesto is like our rally cry, right? Like why? What do we do? Why do we do it? How do we do it? Sort of situation. And so, I don't know if you've ever have like a brand house, right? So we built this brand house, and that's kind of how we define, and it's like our messaging hierarchy.
Right. It's basically your North Star for a brand. What do we stand for? What do we say? What do we believe in? And who are we as an organization?
Right. And why should people believe that? So we have like proof points in there, right? And so we have this new corporate storyline from a product standpoint, and we wanted to align that with, how we're going to market as an employer. So we wanted to tell the story. So how do we take all of this information that we have in the EVP house and explain who we are? And so we wrote this manifesto, which is really great. It's kind of like our story, our employer story. And then we created a video. So we had employees from all over the world read one line of that. And so that video is on our website. And that kind of describes everything that you want to know about us in about less than 3 minutes.
All right. So let's break that down. What's a TLDR? What is the headline of Eaton?
What's the headline of Eaton? So
what's the headline if I'm on the market, if I'm a candidate, potential candidate? What's that soundbite that I want to see and hear that's going to be effective?
Right. So our brand promise is we make what matters work. And our tagline for our brand campaign that we went to market with is energize your career. Right.
Okay.
So come
tongue in cheek.
Yeah. Kind of goes with the energy transition, right? All the products that we support. So there's a lot of different things, and everybody's like, well, how do you break through the noise of the market? Because there's a lot of employers all saying the same thing, right? So it's kind of like a mix of things. So what's the combination that's making us unique? And so what we think makes us unique is we're a strong, evolving, and visionary company, right? And we have passionate people, we're doing purpose-driven work, and we're collaborative, empowered, and people-centered as a culture.
So how does that roll down and out on the candidate attraction side and for employee engagement and retention? Two-part question, Erin. Morning show.
Right. So when we rolled this out, we decided to use our employees as the heroes of the story. So if you go on our social channels, if you go on our career site, it's quotes from our employees. And it's kind of like, why do you love working here? Right? Is it the work? Is it the people? Is it the support? And so we rolled that out throughout the whole globe. And we collected 150 stories from our employees. And that also helped with employee engagement because our employees see themselves in the campaign.
Right, of course.
They see their coworkers in the campaign. And as we know, when the employee is telling the story versus the company saying how great they are.
You don't need to see another HR talking head video. We don't need to see some kind of sitting like in a chair all formal talking about the company. When you hear it from the people that work there, that resonates.
Yes, absolutely. And something that we implemented was a employee advocacy program through Hootsuite's Amplify. So we can load a bunch of content into this software and our employees can just go in and share it. So we've really leveraged our 90,000 employees to be brand ambassadors for us as well.
Let's dig into that. How do you incentivize an employee to share? Why would they want to share it? How do you create a culture of sharing where it's not like we're not forcing you to, you're not hearing it from your manager, but they want to do that? How do you get that groundswell moving?
So I think it has a lot to do with the pride of working here, right? So we win a lot of awards. We do a lot of things. We are one of the most ethical companies. So I think it's pride. And then how we also position it is, become a thought leader, become somebody who's active on LinkedIn, right? Build your own personal brand through the content that we're providing.
It's fascinating, and it's such like an aha moment. I mean, I'm so close to it. I mean, I've been on LinkedIn for a long time and very, very active to say the least there. So I take it for granted. But so many companies are not activating their employees by encouraging them to share on LinkedIn. It's not like giving them templated, forced things to say, but saying, hey, we have a safe space here. We want you to talk about it. Don't be scared. There's so many companies that suppress their employees from talking on LinkedIn. Why? Because they're probably scared. Why? Because they probably don't have they have a toxic culture that they don't want people, exposing there. So creating that. Are you doing any type of training within your organization to say, hey guys, let's do a kind of one-on-one on LinkedIn? You may be a little scared of it. Maybe you think it's just a resume site. Maybe you just think you post there or connect as a digital Rolodex. What did that kind of messaging to the employees? And I assume you kind of had to tailor it for different types of employees in different regions.
Yeah, absolutely. So we do have guidelines for sharing on social. So we have training. So there's a whole SharePoint site that we have that every employee has access to that's online. And it talks about kind of like the guardrails, right? What we want to say, what we don't, things to stay away from, just to safeguard ourselves against that, right? And then we've sent out a lot of employee communications to join this advocacy program. It's very easy to join Hootsuite. And content's in there. And then what's nice about the platform is our employees can also customize it, right? They don't have to use the templates that we use.
Right.
And we want them to use their own voice.
It's a thought starter.
I think a lot of times it's hard because they're like, I just don't know where to start. Where do I get a photo? How do I get the design? So I think it's at least we're providing them with some content that's easy to share.
And how are you gauging effectiveness of this program as a whole?
So there's analytics that we can get on the back end. I actually do have stats. We rolled this out a couple of years ago, and we have 5,000 seats, but really we have about almost 1,000 users, and we're trying to grow that program, right? We had almost 800 posts created and 13,000 posts shared last year.
That's a lot.
With a 45 million reach. So
I mean, think about that earned media. Think about that earned media opportunity to leverage your current employees at scale. Let this be a case study here of how large enterprise organizations can empower and activate their current employees to be brand ambassadors, brand advocates, done the right way. You're not forcing something down their throat. You're not saying you must use this template. But Kristin, you're giving them the thought starters. How has it been working, like the cross function between marketing, HR, and having the managers roll this out?
Yeah. So actually, I co-launched this program with the social media director at Eaton who sits on our marketing department. So it was a very close collaboration between the two of us. And then we have an HR deployment call monthly that's global. So I will go on there every so often as a reminder, hey, join this. And then it's also embedded into our onboarding program. So about 2 or 3 weeks in, when a new hire starts, they get the information about it with instructions on how to join. And then we have recorded trainings, and we also do live trainings. So yeah, it's quite the process, but I mean, yeah, the add value. So there's also a metric in the system that shows add value, and it's, you know, it's almost $1 million.
I was about to say that many impressions targeted to the right folks, and plus the folks in their network are potential future employees.
That's exactly right. It mirrors like the audience.
Case study here, guys. Case study.
Yeah. The audience of our employees are the kind of people we need to attract, function-wise, location-wise, and culture-wise, right?
So Kristin, are you taking any of these creative elements, whether it be from your manifesto, and rolling it into the candidate experience, the onboarding experience? How are you utilizing these content pieces effectively?
Yes. So we actually ask, that's part of the onboarding too, is we ask if they want to be a part of our Energize Your Career campaign. So immediately, right, we would love to get your quote. We would love to have you participate in this. And then we have it. So we have our employee referral program also mirroring our employer brand campaign. So it's engaging people, getting them to submit referrals. Our referrals have increased by 50% from year over year, from last year till this year when we really promoted it. We use all of our internal communications channels to promote our employee referral program as well.
Is there a monetary reward for referrals in your organization? And I'm not asking what that looks like, but it's an incentive. Now, let's real talk for a moment here. One of the kind of rubs on employer referrals, just in general, is creating a culture of like bias, right?
Yeah.
But it's weird because as humans, you want to work with people that you like, but you don't want to create a culture of sameness. So there's usually a delicate balance there. Plus, on top of that, there is a great equalizer if someone actually has to be qualified, good at their potential role, interview well, and actually get the job. But how do you kind of mitigate and balance that?
I mean, honestly, with an employee base of 90,000 people, we're not really that worried about getting the same people through our
Well, yes, you do have diversity within a 90,000 sample set, right?
Yeah, right. So it's a diversity of thought, diversity of, location, diversity of function. So that hasn't really been an issue for us, but I could see how in a smaller company that would be, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So let's get to it. Kristin, am I going to see you next week in San Diego? Is this real?
Yes. I'm so excited. I'm kind of bummed I didn't get the invite for this party Airbnb situation.
Well, let me tell you that we will be. Yeah, we're gonna have a good old time. Us folks over at the hotel are gonna be all right at the resort. Trust me on this one. I'm excited. Let's talk about your panel, Energize Your Career, Eaton's EVP launch stories. What are you doing? Is it a keynote, a panel? Let's give a little sneak preview.
So honestly, I haven't been to this conference yet.
Neither
so apparently
have I.
there's like 3 different tracks. So there's 3 different stages. So I'll be on the employer branding stage for my time slot.
And that is Tuesday at 2 p.m., 2 to 2:40.
Yes. And so essentially I'm taking the audience through kind of step by step how we went through concepting, through execution for our EVP and our employer brand campaign globally.
Well, I love it. We have so much more to talk about. And Kristin, please come over. We'll be recording interviews all day. I'm really looking forward to meeting in person. I'm excited just to get out of it. You're in cold Cleveland. I'm in cold New York. Weather's looking nice in San Diego. We need some sunshine. We need some sunshine over here. Kristin, it's been an absolute pleasure. Please come back to the HR Morning Show. Where can folks find you? Where could they connect? Where could they learn more?
You can find me on LinkedIn. Just connect with me. Love connecting with people. And thanks for having me. This was great. I'm so excited to meet everybody in San Diego.
I can't wait. Safe travels, and we will see you out there. Kristin Oravec, thank you so much for joining us on the morning show. Appreciate you. Take care. And that is going to bring us to the end of the show. Hopefully our weatherman
Serge
will
is
come
just
back
like,
on.
dude, there he is.
Serge worked overtime today. We put him to work. Now he sees what Joel and I and Danielle do every week. And we do it. It's a labor of love. We love bringing these thought leaders and incredible folks to everyone out there. Again, guys, please tune in, chime in the comments. It makes it interesting. It makes it fun. Shout out to Nikki Russell. Nikki, we're running it back at Vegas to Transform this year. We're running it back. We're going to get the squad back together. Serge, I'm going to give you a thumbs up. I think you did a great job this week. You really brought Joel. He's seizuring now. He's seizuring over there. We want to thank our good friends over at ERIN. Please go check out Purple Acorn IO and check out and get your own sloth of your own. Tune in. We have so many shows on the Purple Acorn Network. We have the Alder Hour. That's Mondays at 12 PST, 3 over here on the East Coast. Stay tuned for Hire Her, a Talent Collective podcast. That is Wednesdays at 11 PST. My First Job with Mike Wood, Thursdays at 11 PST. And From the Desk of Jada Montemanaro, Fridays at 11. If you want to hear and see more of Purple Acorn, head over to purpleacornnetwork.com. Find us out on Spotify. Please check out our friends, ERIN. They're awesome. Looking forward to hanging with them at TA Week. Employee referrals at its best. ERIN, thank you. Thank everyone out there. Thanks to our production team. Ben, welcome back anytime. Really brought so much humor to the show. So much humor. Yeah. Really showcased your comedic styling out there. And everyone out there, remember, be good to yourself, be better to others. And catch us live, Joel and I and friends and Serge. Serge is a friend. The whole Purple Acorn and HR Morning Crew.
If you look down on the ground and you see red shoes, you know we're part of the Red Shoe Crew with ERIN. Yeah. Let's go.
I got to clean my shoes. All right, everyone, take care, and we'll catch you next week. HR Morning Show out. Have a great Tuesday, everybody.
Oh.